welcome everyone to this episode of Easton Library Community Book Chat. And I'm so happy to welcome our guest today. Everybody knows her. It's Lucy Crossman, also known as Firefighter Lucy. Lucy, welcome.
Thank you very much. I was really surprised when you called and asked me to do this. This is fabulous.
Oh, great. We're super happy to have you. So, Lucy, tell me a little bit about what's been going on at the fire department during these COVID times.
We've been busy. Of course, everything has changed so much. Everybody's on lockdown, but also our protocols for response and how we respond and who responds and when has had to change. We've had to pretty much close the firehouse to visitors and take care of a lot of business, walk-up business, through the door. But we have to make sure that we keep the first responders as safe as we can, along with everybody else. So things are working well. We figured it out. The chief sat down with the officers and got everything pretty well squared away pretty early on. And everybody wears masks if you come to the firehouse. We wear masks when we respond. And we've been doing very well so far. So we'll see how we make out during the gradual reopening.
Yes.
To see, but so far things are going well.
That's great. Well, thanks so much to the Easton Fire Department and to you for all you guys do to keep our town safe. It's wonderful.
We're trying hard.
Excellent. I know you are. So your book choice today that you chose is The Last Coyote by Michael Connelly. So tell us a little bit about that book.
The Last Coyote is the fourth book in the Harry Bosch series by Michael Connelly. He started writing Harry Bosch in 1992, and I think The Last Coyote was published in 1995. And Harry Bosch is a Los Angeles police homicide detective. And he has a great backstory that pretty much molded who he is and how he approaches investigation and everything. And it's a series of 22 books in the Bosch series. And he's pretty much taken Harry through the years, and he's aged, he's progressed, and he's a really fascinating character. And Connelly writes so well. His characters are fully fleshed out. If it's a character in his story that you need to relate to, and it's not just a walk-on part, he writes that character well, so when the interactions happen, how things work. You understand how things are working. I admire anybody who can use language that way. He's a fabulous writer.
That's fantastic. And you said you like mysteries, right?
Yes.
This is considered a mystery. Yeah.
Yes. I've been a mystery reader pretty much all my life, starting with the Bobbsey twins and Trixie Belden, Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew when I was a kid, going to Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes, and then into more adult mysteries. Connelly is one of my favorites. Elizabeth George. Goodness, the list is pretty endless.
Yeah. Does Michael Connelly, does he write books other than just the Harry Bosch?
He has 3 series that are all related. They all take place in Los Angeles. Harry Bosch is the main series. But there's another series of Mickey Haller, who is a criminal defense attorney in Los Angeles, and he happens to be Harry's half brother. So that makes some, when the books cross, or when the characters cross in each other's books, it makes a really interesting interaction with the characters. He also has Jack McAvoy, who is a journalist. Sometimes they don't really cross as much as kind of bounce off each other. And there's a new character, Renee Ballard, who is another homicide detective, but she has run afoul of the bosses, and now she's on what they call the late show, midnights. And she hated it, but now she loves it there because of the cases and the things. And she gets to work by herself because she also has a fascinating backstory. So Connolly writes interesting characters. Harry.
Yeah, I love how you said that his story intertwines with some of the other, even though it's not his series, he makes appearances in the other series. That's really interesting. That must be really difficult to do and do well.
I can't imagine. I have trouble imagining how, because I'm not a writer. Trying to write something more than 3 or 4 paragraphs sometimes is painful because I rewrite and rewrite. To have a writer who can envision a story and then take it from start to finish, especially when they're bringing in other storylines, I could never do it. And I totally admire somebody who can. I think it's a fabulous talent.
It is a very amazing talent. So have you seen the Amazon series Bosch based on the books?
No, I haven't. I've checked into the Facebook fan page for Harry Bosch because it's interesting. I'm always interested when somebody else reads a book that I've read and I have my own visions, and then somebody else reads it and it's like, I don't think we read the same book.
Yes.
And they've been talking about the Bosch series and Titus Welliver, who plays Bosch in that series. I haven't seen it. Michael Connolly is involved in it, so I know it's true. It's true to the Bosch character, which I think is the most important part of it.
Yeah, that's key.
But I like Titus Welliver.
You think he was as well as Harry Bosch? Can you picture him as that character?
No, I'm sure he does it very well, but that's not. I pictured, just from the descriptions and the fact that he's aging through the years, he describes him as curly brown hair. I think he's got brown eyes, and he's not a spectacular guy, but women are attracted to him. So I think he's an attractive guy, even though he looks at himself in the mirror and doesn't see attractive. He doesn't, he's not a fashion plate. He's got good suits that he wears for trial, but he's just a kind of a regular guy, but with some very strong convictions and principles. And I think that's the thing that comes out so well. His motto or his creed is everybody counts or nobody counts.
Oh, that's
and that's how he approaches. He has problems with any other detective that he's working with, the cops or anybody that doesn't give the victim the respect that you would give another human being. And I think some of that goes back to his childhood. His mother was a prostitute, and she was murdered. And the investigation did not. The investigation was pretty much quashed quickly. And he came in later years to figure that it's because maybe somebody in power was involved with her. And that was one of his convictions. And this last coyote, he was put in a situation where he is under indefinite suspension from the department. They have his gun and his badge, and he has to talk to the department psychologist 3 times a week, which he totally is against. So he's fighting her every time he has to go in. He's fighting her, but it's the only way he can get his badge back. And he decides, as long as he is at loose ends and he's got nothing to do, because investigate and be an investigator is who he is. That's who he is. He's the case, 100%. He goes to the evidence files and he gets the box of all the evidence and the murder book and everything for his mother's murder, which was 30 years ago. And he takes it home and he starts going through it, and he's investigating his mother's murder.
Wow.
And
sounds really like a great story. I love the conflict, right? And then his own sort of case, or like he's almost like one of his own cases, right? So yeah, that's I love that.
But I chose this book to talk about because The Last Coyote gives a lot of insight. He flashes back and thinks about his life when he was a child. He was 11 when she was murdered. Mm-hmm. And he was in the youth home at that time because she had been arrested for prostitution and they had taken him away from her. Mm-hmm. And she kept swearing, "I will get you back. I will. If I have to move heaven and earth, I will get you back." She adored her son and he loved her. And she didn't have a chance because she was murdered. So that had a lot to do with who he is now. Everything that happened back then, since then.
Well, it sounds like a great series and a great story. And so we do have The Last Coyote. I have one and you have one.
I have one. I'll bring this back tomorrow.
So we have it in regular print and large print. This is the large print copy. And we also have it as a downloadable ebook. So you can just check the Easton Library website and you can hit the search the catalog button to find The Last Coyote.
And just one last thing. This is like the third time I have read through the series. I'm using the lockdown to go back and read because I don't have access to everything in the library that I could just go in and browse. And by the way, I found Michael Connolly in the library. My first book I took out of the library and it looked interesting. And now I've been reading it all along. What was I going to say?
That you've reread them.
I've reread them. I think this is probably the third rereading of the entire series because I do that with a lot of authors. Books just stick with me, and rereading, I don't get bored with it. If it's a well-written story and it's good, strong characters, that's all I need.
That seems, if you can reread it and still get as much out of it as you did the first time, that seems like the mark of a really good story, right? That you read it and then you go back and read it later and say, I don't really understood what I saw in that book that time.
I've done that too.
Yeah.
But I do that with I've got boxes of books that I've put aside. So as long as the library has them, I read them on tablet. I think I'm number 17 of 2 copies for the next book that I in the series. So I have to wait for that one.
All right. Well, Lucy, thanks for joining us.
This was fun. I was so nervous.
No, I'm so glad you could come. Thank you. I mean, it was great to have you. And, I want to thank everybody for watching this episode of Library Book Chat, and have a great day. Thanks again, Lucy.
I'll see you later.